Ignition complete.
Yo. 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 Yo.
Welcome to your Inspirational Astrology Horoscope for Thursday, October 17th, 2024. I'm Astrology Palmer, the Leo King, here to illuminate the collective consciousness. Well, thanks so much for being a part of highvibe.tv. And if you're not, make sure that you join us. Go to highvibe.tv and just click on join now, or go to any of the apps. Just type High Vibe TV in any app store, everywhere from Roku to Amazon to, of course, your iPhone and your Android and Apple TV. And you can subscribe that way. We have multiple awesome plans, including my Premium Plus with all of the schools I've ever done. And you get also extra content too. Plus, we have a full community, and you can also post on your own, make your own account, follow other high vibers, and literally direct message, just like social media. No censorship and none of the other crazy crap that's out there in the world, just all the spiritual stuff. All on the apps, all on the website, and it's not some chintzy crap. We're the only ones in the game who've actually gone this far and actually done it the proper way and spent the last 5 years doing it. And there's so much awesome, incredible stuff on there. And it's super cheap every month. So truly appreciate the support. It's videos that I put out like this to help promote High Vibe and give out information to people. And if you can't be on High Vibe, the best way to support is just share these videos and talk about High Vibe and share High Vibe. Truly appreciate it. I also just launched my USA election for the 2024 election in America. My predictions, that's up here on YouTube, or it's on High Vibe as well. And please spread that out. It had a lot of people, and truly appreciate it for those history lessons, astrological insights, and my predictions that are pretty crazy that I don't think are anywhere else out there. Definitely, because I've been saying a lot of them for months, but I put them all together finally in a live show. All right. Well, we're at the full moon in Aries. Remember that 19 years ago on this exact date, it was actually a partial lunar eclipse. Technically, it's not a lunar eclipse, although we are seeing this full moon with the North Node in Aries. Kind of weird. Of course, the last full moon we had was that Pisces lunar eclipse. And so that kind of switches the whole paradigm of how we were 19 years ago. But we are in a full moon. This one does kind of have a little bit of that ting to an eclipse to it. But more importantly, there are a lot of things that we can learn from going back to October 17th, 2005 and now. But more importantly, what this Aries full moon is going to be all about is really kickstarting the Pluto that just came direct on Saturday. And really because Mars is dispositing this full moon in Aries, and it's really slow. It's in shadow. It's in Cancer in its fall position. It's starting to oppose Pluto. And then, of course, square the sun and all that. We are in this big cardinal cross, and there's a lot of pressure with this full moon and a lot of extreme situations that are coming up with it, especially about the world, your own life, and really learning to truly identify correctly instead of basing some of your identities off some of this kind of like illusionary stuff. Let's take a look, see what we got going on here. Oh, did that computer not? Oh, wait. Come on. Yes. The electronic gods have been on my side tonight and today. All right, so we got this full moon in Aries, conjunct Chiron, conjunct Fortuna, conjunct Aries. So this is a big stellium happening here in Aries. And this is Jupiter's daughter, Fortuna, retrograde. This is Aries. She likes to play with people, especially with war. And also the Trojan horse energy, right? And messing with distractions of beauty and fucking with people to try and get other gods to fuck up. So this is really a full moon about releasing your ego and finding the soul identity of connecting with truly just expressing the true authentic self, not the egoic self. This is a full moon that we do see that square to Mars, and we have a mutual reception going on. Of course, the moon would rather be where Mars is, and it's sign that it rules, Cancer, and Mars would rather be in Aries where the moon is at. So not a bad square with the mutual reception. They can understand each other, but they also wish they were in each other's spots. So again, if you're trying to find comfort in your life and it's based off some sort of ego, like something that you want, with Venus at the end of Scorpio in sextile to Pluto, I think that this is an important thing to pay attention to because the South Node is still in Libra and the Sun's in Libra. And so the illusion really is this kind of like desire or need or want or money, or I have to do something in order to feel good. I think the thing we have to do right now is learning to really shed off these kind of egoic ideas of like what we need to have in order to feel good or to get to the next space. It's more about, hey, these are tests of Pluto and Capricorn, where this full moon is also squaring. That's just station direct. And we end this transit November 19th, the last 16 years, and all the traps that Pluto has left us to test about achievement, you know, what to reach for in life. And what to reach for really is the true authentic just version of who you are. And you have to be honest with yourself. And there's a humbling with Chiron here. Like nothing's perfect. So you have to get rid of this idea of perfectionism with the South Node in Libra, the Sun in Libra. No relationship's perfect. No vision that you have will perfectly go the way that you see it. And so this is about releasing a lot of the frustration that's mounted around our visions of the future, our visions of ourselves in that future, and the stress that comes with the square to Mars and Cancer. Well, this will make me feel more comfortable. I need more money, or I need this, or I need to move here, or I need to have that, or I need. There's so much of this I need in my emotions, and you know what? I need to get to this place. I need to get to this place. This Pluto Capricorn, and then the illusion of, and then that's the beautification that I'll see with that South Node in Libra and the Sun in Libra. But that's not where it's really at. This is also where fortune can really switch in a negative direction, especially if you're feeding that energy of that. I need this, and that's the beautiful place. And once I'm there, it'll be that. This is more about really about acceptance. Now we do have Jupiter and Gemini that retrograded as well last week. And it is in sextile to this full moon, and we're just coming out of and the separation of that trine from the Sun to Jupiter. So at least Jupiter's kind of helping us go, well, okay, let's just stay with the basics. Am I in the right environment? Am I learning? And let me just stick with the actual facts. So it's not about overhyping these needs and wants either, right? It's kind of about keeping it simple. And also at the same time, remembering like there's a lot of energy that's about how you react emotionally to things, especially when it comes to our inner peace, our relationships. And there is boundaries that have to be set, but it's the boundaries in your ego that I do believe have to be set with Saturn that is disposited by Pluto being in Capricorn and Saturn's retrograde in Pisces. These are the subconscious traps, even sometimes the unconscious and partly repressed aspects of our past that are wanting or yearning for things to try and fill some sort of hole that honestly, there isn't a hole, but you believe that there's a hole. There's nothing that's going to change your life except for the accepting of the moment. And that's what Chiron really is with this full moon. Let's not forget that in the eclipse cycle 6 months ago, we had a total solar eclipse at 19 degrees of Aries that was exactly conjunct Chiron. So now we have a full moon, almost lunar eclipse, but it's not. But interesting enough, with Chiron. And I think that now this is the emotional part of it, right? It's kind of like a lot of planets are still retrograde. This is us learning to receive. This is us learning to accept. Yeah, it's not perfect, but you know what? It's perfect because it is imperfect. And I'm learning and I'm growing and I'm finding my true authentic self. And this is a time to really use that Jupiter and Gemini to search for the answers, and more about having the curiosity questions about, you know, who really am I And the way that the universe has been bringing the challenges, bringing these harder things, bringing these things that actually face subconscious patterns, face how we react to situations with Mars and Cancer that's in shadow, that we're going to see a long retrograde through Leo, but mainly when it comes back into Cancer. There's so much here about, okay, where's the chip on my shoulder that's really not a chip? And in many ways, because we've seen Pluto gestation direct, we've seen Jupiter gestation retrograde last week, this is the full moon that really turns both those on. And we have to remember that until the next full moon is when Saturn will finally station direct. I think it's on the 15th of November. And no planets turning directions, right? Until we get to Mercury retrograde, which will be in November. But it's like, you're not seeing any of these outer planets change gears or anything else. So it's kind of interesting that we're going to have to really use this full moon to realize if you're trying to go too fast, too hard, and push the throttle too much, you're going against a lot of resistance. So this is the ego realizing that it's kind of like chasing this idea of what a perfect, more beautiful life is with tons of resistance, which actually doesn't even make it beautiful when you get there, right? So it's about realizing that every moment and what is actually happening and just bringing the true authentic self. With Chiron, sometimes it can feel like a sacrifice to people. I think I learned a lot of this lesson becoming a father, which especially after being a single bachelor, right? That was a famous celebrity. It's kind of like, that wasn't a sacrifice. That was the most beautiful thing that ever happened in my life, of putting my life and my identity of who I am and going back into how my dad was and my life and putting myself to be a father, right? To be just who I am as a soul and how I can be the best version of myself to another. And that's really where this North Node Aries and the South Node Libra really come into play in this full moon. It's not a sacrifice. It's an honor. It's a beautiful thing. We live in a society today where that is shunned. Right? So Pluto Capricorn, don't have a kid, Cancer. Don't do any of that family shit. Work until you get where you need to, and then, do it, and then try IVF or whatever, and go through all these more painful things. And then once you have the baby, throw it in fucking daycare and forget about it and get back to work. Really, that's showing that the collective's going through a massive ego of just thinking about itself. I'm using one version of that through children today, right? More than 50%, it's closer, I think, to 70% of families have kids and throw their kids in daycare within the first 2 to 3 months, right? And all the mental health problems are coming in adolescence because of that. That's where the data's at for 30 years. And that's not a conspiracy. I can refer you to those studies and videos and people that are actually trying to help people understand that that's the worst thing that's ever happened. And to me, there is a big reminder about that. Where do you do that in your life about this is more important than this more beautiful part of where I can show up in Aries? And sure, you could call it the hero, but just show up fully. Where can I really just show up as myself? I don't have to be this kind of fake version, which you might believe isn't fake, right? But it's more based off your success, or it's more based off you kind of, wanting success, but then this certain, weird, stressful, emotional need to find safety in that's really temporary and it's fleeting. Time is really of the essence with Pluto and Capricorn. It's the realization at the end of the transit too, that we don't have a lot of time on this earth. And what do you do with your time? And are you really embodying the true version of yourself? Of course, this brings up war. With this full moon in Aries and square to Mars, conjunct Eris in Aries. This also deals with invasions of major countries into other major countries. Especially where Pluto's at, whether it was the Spanish going and taking over the Aztecs, and that was also with Eris transits. Whether that was there was that. There was trying to think of another good one. Well, 2005, the Iraq invasion. There was the Israeli-Palestine wars that were happening in that time. There was William and Kate, the idea of them becoming married. And so that also could be another weird switcheroo that's going to happen. Them becoming, well, maybe the AI version of her, but at least Prince William taking the throne here. Or those kind of really fast things happen. It was also the avian flu that was massive in 2005 that popped up right after this exact full moon in this exact same degree, this exact same day in 2005. It also was the Saddam Hussein trials that started right after. It was a massive earthquake that happened. It was, and many thousands of people died. So it was also the biggest hurricanes in Florida, like we just saw. Right? It was Wilma, Hurricane Wilma. So I think that we need to realize, like, with all those things, like, the most important thing is about you and your life going, am I being my true, authentic, more Chiron, like that shamanistic, that spiritual healer that is okay to identify with that? And it's not a sacrifice to not put aside, not push away, but to just not have to do these fleeting obsessions over whether it's a certain kind of relationship that really it's just to try and supply some sort of need you have, or a work, or something that really doesn't actually have much deeper spiritual meaning, and based off some sort of like kind of cultural beautification that really behind it isn't much at all, right? It's like empty. And so there can be a very big void or emptiness with this full moon, especially if you're really focused on this kind of idea of who you think you can be, that really, if you were to really get to the deep facts with Jupiter and Gemini, you'd realize like that's actually not going to supply all that you think. So it's kind of like, it's okay right now to go, let me focus on actually like where I can be my best human self. And this is about unlocking the key to what ego really is. It's about identification that's aligned with spirit with a purpose. If it's just for trying to win, to make yourself feel better, I'm sorry, but that door is going to stay locked because Chiron is a key. So we're looking at the Chiron that was direct and the total solar eclipse that was April 8th of 2024, 6 months ago. And now here we are with the lunar. Technically it's a full moon, but it should be, it's close enough to be a fucking eclipse, but it's not. So it's one of those weird, like kind of, yeah, it's hidden, but it's not hidden. But it's eclipsy. Full moon on Chiron with Fortuna there, right? And I think that Fortuna is like in retrograde saying like, you know, we have to accept where the wheel of life lands. You can't try to control it. And the problem with this full moon is control. That's really what the ego is doing. That's why Saturn, so you would think the two malefics like Mars and Saturn, you'd think like, okay, yeah, Mars is the ruler of Aries and Saturn's the ruler of Capricorn. Why is it when Mars goes into Capricorn, it's exalted, but why is it when Saturn goes into Aries, it goes to fall? And that's because if there is no meaning and purpose, and it's just based off your ego, it doesn't last. And you can't control everything, especially your ego. So this is going to bring up where you're going to see a bunch of war energy, people trying to control others and control and freak outs. And also because Mars is in squares, this brings up inflammation. This brings up kind of things popping up that are really agitated. And it's about learning to de-stress and realize that all the stress is based off your ego's needs, wants, and desires that are not in alignment with true meaning and spiritual evolution, growth, and where humanity is trying to evolve is where Chiron is about as well. And realizing, you know, we will understand more about this humanity and why we're all here over the next 20 years, especially when Chiron comes into Leo. When it finally gets to the place that it's beyond the orbit of Uranus and Saturn for a quick moment. So, we're about 16, 18 more years away, and at the end of Pluto in Aquarius when that really happens. So relax. But also take action on who you really are and be who you really are. There's pressing issues, but the pressing issues are about removing the ego's falsehoods that don't have any truth to them, meaning, or depth. And it might feel like I have to do this in order to keep anything together. And that might be true, but it has to have meaning. And you'll find a way through that, but you don't need to push too hard and you don't need to try to control things. And if it doesn't have fate, purpose, or meaning, well, the universe will probably not let it work. And that's where, instead of being angry at yourself, the world, or another person, you have to go, thanks for showing me. And then double your energy in putting that action into where that meaning that's just more than beyond yourself, because it's you involved. It's you in identification with it, but it's not about just your own gain. Most, if you're on YouTube, you're busy on High Vibe a lot, but a good example would be, I do have that full moon, that lunar eclipse that was in 2005 here. That's 2024. Man. Well, I'll show you this. When we get to the end of this week after this full moon, Mercury and the Helio is going to finally start the opposition to this Jupiter, Mars, and then we're going to have all the planets on one side of the zodiac for that 44 days. And this is really condensing everything into where for the last 44 days, it's just been Mercury and Venus that went through, but mainly Mercury, that your mind has just been trying to understand, and it's been in opposition to all the planets. And remember, this is the sun at the center. But now that Mercury, by the end of this week, after this full moon, and we start to see that Jupiter-Mars conjunction finally finish, and Mercury opposite that Jupiter-Mars, and plus we're going to see Mercury and Jupiter in opposition from a geo point of view in a retrograde coming in November into December especially. Venus heading towards Pluto. The world's about to crack, right? And so I think that this is where it's going to feel very condensed. And right now you need to get your ego on check and get this relief of control situations. And when the freakouts happen over, the same way that they did in 2005, avian flu stuff, viral stuff, war, all these kind of things, show up to the areas where you can be the best healer, where you can put yourself in a place where you can be a healer, but you're also putting that effort and work because it's doing something of good and positive and showing up. The sun's exalted in Aries. It's where we can exalt our soul to do something in this world more than it being about self-service. It's about selfless service with Saturn, Neptune in Pisces. And the other way, I guess, and we do have the comet that, of course, has been going through this area this weekend, of course, seeing where it's been, and the tail of it being, of course, looking at Aries. And so it's interesting because using old astrology and comets, we've been actually seeing an anti-tail. That means that the vapor, the tail, tail dust we're actually going through that it already went through. So there's been some cosmic dusting by this comet, dealing with really wanting to have us focus on a bright message of peace that comes from what we direct our identity and how we use our powers of self, not the powers of control, but the powers of our exalted being in the right direction. Also, I guess it would have been maybe in this one. Yeah. This is back from June on High Vibe. I told people that this period between September 1st and November 19th, and then looking at this full moon, is the middle of us being in Hades, and the hell that might look like out there, and understanding how Mercury is the one that can get through Hades, but also understanding Styx and understanding the usherment of Pluto and learning to receive and accept the way things are, and identify with the actions you take through accepting, opposed to rejecting what God's trying to do, rejecting fate, and also rejecting what's beautiful because you want your ego to have something different. That's like a very small version of it all, but we're here at that full moon. And we are at that halfway point. And, you know, and then that Jupiter-Saturn square happened at the beginning right before, and then there's a Jupiter-Saturn square when we come out. And then, of course, there's another Jupiter-Saturn square when we get to the Jupiter ingress into Cancer and the Saturn ingress into Aries next year. But we're in the middle of the Jupiter-Saturn square right now. And they're not exact, but they're both retrograde. And to remember, this is not a time of extreme, I'll have everything I want. And it's also not a time of full restriction. It's the balance of both. And it's also the checkup on the 0 degree conjunction we had December 21st, 2020, in realizing that this is now the 20-year time since 2020 about how we put ourselves out there and collectively and into the world. And you have to understand who you are first, and not from an ego point of view and not from a point of view of control. And also from this kind of false narrative of Pluto Capricorn, which is, I'm only worthy and I'm only strong when I'm successful, when I've reached my success, and when I've gotten all of my emotional needs met by using my ego and control. And the illusion of the beauty of that, which somebody who would have gone to a P. Diddy party would have exactly fallen for that. Hence, 2005 in this eclipse probably brought up the peak of some of those Diddy party stuff. Okay. Let's see what we got card-wise. Again, you can watch my big election prediction video. I just did that. It's up. Your sun signs are up if you're in the public world. And then make sure you join High Vibe, or at least check it out. Go to highvibe.tv or on the apps. And I truly appreciate it. And that's how to support. And if you do the 6-month plan, it's less than $10 a month. Or if you can only do monthly, it's $13.99 a month. And you're getting so much content from just not me, but others and shows and all that here at the High Vibe TV studios. We just moved to a new studio. And, we're all about that true spiritual evolutionary astrology, spirituality, human design, cards, all those things. And a lot of cool stuff that we keep bringing out, like the community feature that's really a full social media network now on your app. So yeah. But if it's too much, again, by sharing these videos and sharing the message of what we do here at High Vibe and having people check it out, that's truly appreciated. All right. What do we have for this full moon in Aries? 4 swords reversed with King of Swords reversed. I do feel that, it's kind of like what you thought, this direction in your head that would bring you solace isn't. So it's kind of like we're feeling overtired and we're feeling like our mind's trying to find the direction. Take a chill pill, get back to just some basic facts, get back to the beauty of knowing where you can exalt your greatest self without it being connected to some sort of success that's not got meaning to do help and to heal, and stop basing everything on whether it's good luck or not. And really you have to find that appreciation, because the 4 swords is one of my favorite cards, because it's the place where we find solace before we go out for battle or when we come back, and the gratefulness that we have if we survive in battle, and the appreciation that we have before we go into battle of the beauty that we hope to come back to, of actual beauty of God, our family, and support. And so I think that if you're lacking that feeling or can't find it, it's because you're living in your mind too much, and that you think that you know the best way always. And the facts are changing, and life's changing, and things are coming at us at all these different speeds, timings, and ways, and fate especially, that it's okay for you to not know it all. It's okay for you to not have all the answers. And you'll find a lot more peace when you actually soak into that, opposed to trying to resist whatever it is that is the problem. Sometimes when we actually step into the problem, we can figure it out more than resisting it and trying to fight it. I appreciate you all very much. Thanks for being a part of High Vibe. If you're not, I truly appreciate you for the support. And please either join High Vibe, or of course, you could spread the message out to get more people that hopefully can join High Vibe at the same time too. Thanks so much for all your support. Much love. See you on the next one.
Yeah. Okay.
Attention, please.